Matt Goodwin, elitefts.com, equipment sales. Did you anything else?
Oh, I thought it'd be less formal. Like, hey guys.
Matt Goodwin here at Elite FTS. Today's Table Talk episode will feature myself and Tim Edmonds.
Good afternoon.
Today's guests, we're going to have Chris Bartl, currently at Mount Baker High School, and Scott Paltos.
In this episode today, they talk about a little about what's going on with their gyms, their training style, how they incorporate their athletes, especially transitioning back from the quarantine, what they're going to do to avoid injury, and then some of the creative ideas that they have in line to kind of help their businesses grow post-quarantine.
We'll get into some East Coast, West Coast battling, see who says the F word the most, and talk a little bit about how people have kind of changed over the last 20 years or so, especially kids, and how they're being raised and how they are kind of dealing with things socially differently than we did when we were younger.
Yeah, not to mention, they're going to let us know Exactly where the top athletes are coming out of in the country. You're not going to believe it.
Oh, big argument. Texas, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, California, where are the best athletes
New Jersey?
From? Jersey? I don't know about Jersey. Best pizza though.
With Table Talk, we're trying some new things out, especially with this quarantine. It's given us an opportunity to kind of reach out, try some new things. That being said, you're going to see a little bit of Matt, myself, Nate, some of the team members here at Elite FTS take over the Table Talk. We're going to bring some new ideas, new concepts in, and don't worry, you'll still be seeing more of Dave Tate in these Table Talks moving forward.
And you never know, you might see less of Dave. Maybe he's losing weight, maybe he's dieting again, maybe he's making a powerlifting comeback. We don't know. Dave won't tell us.
People who get locked into a vision, all right, that's it, man. That's their drive, that's their passion. Critics don't matter, this don't matter. They're gonna do whatever it fucking takes to be the best at what they do.
Here we are at the Table Talk in the S5 gym/studio. I'm Tim Edmonds. This is number 51 for us, Matt. And today we got some awesome guests on. We're going to be getting into gyms, facilities, training methods for sports conditioning, and everything else. So, Matt, who do we got on here today?
Yeah, so today we got a little East Coast, West Coast battle. We got Scott Paltos coming out of the East, and we got Chris Bartl coming out of the West. Two awesome guys that have kind of mirrored the same career paths almost. And I think both of them will be able to kind of really dive into some cool topics today and really bring some cool stuff to the table here.
And the East Coast, West Coast battle isn't about who can drop the most F-bombs in this 1 hour, but we may keep track, right?
Today we're going to set up a counter. And we're going to see, maybe we should do an East Coast F-bomb and a West Coast F-bomb and see who can tally the most there.
There we go.
But I got my money on the Jersey kid. He's going to come out swinging, and I just, being born in Jersey, I just have a feeling that North Jersey kid's going to come out and just fire away.
That makes sense.
Who do you got?
Yeah, North Jersey, Jersey without a doubt.
Yeah, it's got to be Jersey. Sorry,
no
Scott.
Question.
I mean, I know the Birkenstock. I think the Birkenstock wearing mountain climber up there in Washington.
It's too chill.
I don't think he can do it. I don't think he can pull it off.
Because he's a fucking hippie.
And there we go to start
That's
it off.
right.
Ding.
Hey, Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself and your gyms and what you got going on right now. Just so everyone knows, to put everything in context, we're at the end of May 2020. So if anyone watches this on YouTube later, we're in the midst of the quarantine. So everybody in our industry has to get super creative. But the looks of things, it looks like we're coming out. How's things going for you guys?
Listen, we're probably in the highest, densely populated area you could be in. And we've had a tremendous amount of, activity when it comes to the virus and what's going on. So we're still, relatively in shutdown mode, as far as, non-essential businesses and.
See, that's what happens when you guys talk all this shit.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the point now where it's like every day is something new. We don't know what's happening. We really don't get much feedback, and at the same time, just kind of winging it and dependent upon what we're being told by our own state government is where we're at. So, it's definitely not the greatest situation, but you got to make the best of it, like you guys said.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Chris, how about you?
We're kind of in the same boat. We are, our governor, bless his soul, loves to hear himself talk. So he goes on TV almost every day and regurgitates a bunch of stuff, and we can't make any fucking sense out of it. So there you go. I'm on the board. But we're sitting around, we're in the midst of phase one. Phase one is almost done up here in Washington. So essential businesses like dog walkers, landscapers, stuff like that are back to work. Non-essential businesses like fitness facilities, we're all kind of lumped together into one bubble, and we're all treated like big commercial gyms. So we're planning for a July-ish open to get people back in gyms. The crazy thing about Washington State is if you look at the breakout numbers by county, there's only 3 real counties that are getting hit hardest, and they're all right around the greater Seattle area. And then we have a little pocket just on the east side of the state. And everywhere else, the numbers are really, really low. So a lot of counties are going through an application process to apply for special status that will allow them to accelerate the phase opening procedure. So hopefully we can start to get back to somewhat of a new normal up here. And right now it's just kind of all in the hands of, politicians, unfortunately.
That's right. Well, we've got some images that we were able to pick up off of social media and some of the installs that Matt has helped you guys with. Let's talk a little bit about like your facility now, how it's set up, and then also maybe some of the previous facilities that you've been involved, how they've been different, and then we'll kind of go down that path. So Scott, tell us about kind of your setup now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, how about this? We were supposed to fucking open April 1st in our brand new facility. We had my partner and I, Doug, had everything ready to go. Lease was ready to go, equipment ready to go. And then all this kind of happened a couple of weeks before. So we ended up, of course, putting it on pause. So for the last year, since I closed the doors of Pump, I've been doing stuff out of the garage. A number of my athletes, a handful of,
headshot.
It's a godsend because it's easy to get home, easy to get, people trained, easy to function the right way. I mean, you guys are going through my west wing of my house that I turned into a good portion of the gym. Prior to that, Pump was a smaller facility. I would say the third generation of Pump was a smaller facility. Again, small groups, small classes, predominantly athlete-based sports performance. Pump before that was my bigger facility. That was 3,000 square feet. Again, that was to the masses. That was based upon, general population and athletes. And, we've been going at it now for, almost 14, 15 years, having my own facility in some capacity. They've all been very different. They've all had a structure that worked for what the business model was at the time, and then slowly transitioned into something else that either was to fit my lifestyle or my life, well-being, quality of life, all that kind of stuff that we try to talk about as business owners. But as we go forward, the one biggest difference for me, at least when it comes to facility-wise, this is the first time I've had a partner. And the first time that I've had someone that not only do I trust, but I have, the utmost respect for.
Saw some images of what you have going on in your house, and it looks like you have like a reverse hyper in your living room. Are you operating out of your house right now, or how's it going?
Are we talking on the record or off the record? Because if we're talking on the record, there's no fucking business. I don't know what you're fucking talking about. No,
That's right.
No one's fucking training. No one's doing shit. But if we were off the record, there are a handful of athletes that I have coming around and training. And again, these are kids or younger athletes that not only do I have a relationship with them, but also their families. So there's a safety net of knowing and making sure that they're in a good, safe environment, and everyone's going to be in the right spot.
Absolutely.
That's the posterior chain room, though, Tim. That's the posterior chain room.
That's right. The booty room. Chris, so where are you set up now? Obviously, with the schools being closed and you predominantly working as the strength coach at Mount Baker, where are you set up? How are you kind of training through this, and where do you see yourself moving?
Well, I'm pulling, the same thing that Scott is. I have some stuff out of the garage because when I got the call from our athletic director saying that, we weren't allowed to be back in the school anymore, I was like, how much can I take out of the gym without me getting in trouble with the school? And all he said was, you got 30 minutes. So I just bolted. I grabbed a bench. I grabbed all the kettlebells, bands, chains, and a prowler. And from that, I just kind of created what I'm calling a B3 program. It's just bodyweight bands and bells, and that's it. And I'm not shy about the fact that I'm taking clients in person right now out of my house. I don't give a fuck, honestly, because my market is predominantly kids, and my biggest fear is the injury rates are going to skyrocket when all this happens. And I don't want that. I don't want any of my kids getting hurt. So I'm going to do whatever I have to ensure that they get the training that they need and they desire. So I'm taking about 10 to 12 high school kids out of my garage right now. And then 3 days a week, I do a online Zoom training session with any kids that go to Mount Baker High School that want to jump on, and we just do body weight stuff. I did an 8-week body weight only program for my online clients, and I twisted a little bit to make it more athletic development style stuff for the high school kids. Yeah, it was a bummer when this came down because the gym that we installed was freaking amazing. It's probably one of the best gyms I've ever built, and the kids were loving it. And we had a great wave of momentum going, getting kids into the gym, but. If anything, this lockdown has just made them want it even more. They miss the excitement. They miss being there. They miss the energy. They miss the death metal coming all the way that they can hear in the parking lot. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
Being able to get back on school property and start training again. Have they given you guys a date? Have they given you any kind of update, or are you guys still kind of out there just waiting?
Well, we're kind of out there just waiting. I actually played golf yesterday with Ron Lepper, who's the head coach of pretty much everything, and then the athletic director, and he's kind of been my go-between. We're looking right around that first week of July. No matter what, that's when we will be back. We just don't care. If it happens sooner, that's great. We're waiting for our county council to apply for special circumstances to allow us to go back earlier. If we do that, then it'll be right when school ends. Technically our last day of school is June 19th. And we can't really do any summer program training or anything to get ready for the fall until that comes and goes. So I would like June 22nd. That's a Monday, but I kind of have a feeling it's going to be pushed back to sometime in the beginning of July.
Yeah. And Scott, you're still coaching?
Yeah, so coaching. We got football.
And what are you hearing from the New Jersey side? I know the governor kind of made an announcement. I thought they said they were going to open up sports again at a limited capacity. I thought I heard that. But I mean, have they given you guys any updates on when you're going to get those kids back in to those facilities?
Yeah, see, this is part of the issue, Maddie, of what's been going on and what's being said. At least for us locally, is one day we get an update saying, kind of like Chris said, like July 1st is kind of that jump off date. And then we get an email or a message talking about what the state is going to follow as far as, federal restrictions on sports. And then it's, at the end of it, it's saying that New Jersey is going to accept that as well. And it's that date and the amount of contact, and I mean by contact, by the amount of athletes involved, the amount of athletes that can show up, is significantly different.
Well, and I think that kind of brings me to our first topic, I guess, what I would say is
the phases. So it is, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, that kind of brings us to our first topic, in my opinion, is both of you guys have all kind of followed the same career path, right? You guys had your own private facility. You guys have coached. You guys have competed in powerlifting. I mean, you guys kind of mirror each other. So we're kind of getting two sides of the spectrum of the country. But Chris brought it up already. How do you deal with the possibility of the higher injuries when you're bringing these kids back that have absolutely done nothing for 2 to 3 months, and then the football coach is going to expect you guys to throw them right out there and say, hey, get these kids ready for the end of August?
And it really could go for any gym goer for that matter. It's like, hey, I've been doing sit-ups and push-ups at home. I've been running outside, and now I want to go back and start my training again. And the older we get, the harder it is to get back into that stuff. So what would you guys recommend? I mean, what's the best way to go about this?
Patience. Yeah. I mean, here's the problem. The problem that a lot of people have, especially the true dedicated gym goers, they're going fucking nuts right now by not having a bar in their hands.
Yep.
And the fear that I see is it's going to be like open door to Disneyland, where everybody's going to be running around like crazy, and people are going to go, I haven't back squatted in 8 weeks. I'm going to fucking max out. And then they blow out their back. Or, you get some circus clown trainer that gets his high school kids who haven't done anything for 10 weeks and they're doing max sprints on day one. No. The key to reducing the injury rates right now is going to be moving slow and being patient with the process. I think if you're the type of coach that throws shit on the wall and expects it to stick, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But if you have a plan in place and you have a system to follow that allows for proper progressions to get these kids back and ready, I think you can really lower the possibility of injury rates and really help keep those down. And that's the plan that we're going with.
Yeah, and I noticed, like, even if we're talking about fall sports with maybe an accelerated start to the season or just a shorter preseason and training period, what are we going to do for guys like that? And we can even open this up to maybe the NCAA football or the NFL season if it gets started early. What are these guys? What are we going to do for these guys? I mean, how would you build a program for someone like that on a short timetable?
Well, I mean, you're talking about if you're doing the right thing by anyone that you work with, or anyone that you have a relationship with, you're at least in constant contact with them, in some capacity, whether it's weekly, daily, every other day, every couple of weeks. There has to be, as a coach, a level of accountability that you're holding your people to. So, yeah, some people may not have a dumbbell, some people may not have a barbell, but you better at least functionally be giving them something to do.
So do you guys kind of anticipate a higher level of like soft tissue injuries? Is that probably what you're going to see the most coming into this, or coming out of this? Once these summer programs start hitting, is that going to be kind of like your biggest fear and what you're going to concentrate most on prevention?
My biggest fear is hamstrings and ankles.
Yep.
I mean, I just from sitting down so much. I mean, they sit around a lot in high school, but at least they have to get up and walk from class to class. And if you go to a bigger school, you have a bigger campus, then you got to walk a little bit further. But now they sit at the kitchen table and they don't get up and they walk around. They'll maybe go from the kitchen table to the couch. So like Scott said, if you're not helping hold them accountable to be doing something, then, those muscles that are just getting atrophied and weak the whole time, there's going to be your biggest glaring. And, for sprinting athletes, that's going to be hamstrings.
Yeah. What's your advice then to give to, say, the coaches that don't have the background that you guys have as far as your knowledge and training and how to, what are you telling these coaches? Like, hey, this is, just start a progression for the running? We got to start with the light jog. We got to move up. And I mean, what advice would you give these coaches that don't necessarily have the education that you both have?
Chill the fuck out.
Right.
Like, utilize your coaching abilities to get your kids, slowly into it. And Chris and I will keep saying it, like, build gradually, progress into it. But that actually means you got to hold yourself as a coach. And if you don't have someone, if you're not lucky enough to have a strength coach or a performance coach, or you don't use another business, like, you need to kind of, be understanding. You're taking a kid or even an adult who's just starting to train again, and you're starting to train them. Like, you need to realize that start it at zero, and progress itself slowly. So you're not going to get the result and the expectation within a day or two or a week or two. It's going to take some time. So if it means splitting time, if it means half reps, if it means, little things that we got to kind of have to go through, then
well, one of the things, it just to kind of echo what Scott said, you just got to be patient with the process. I mean, coaches need to understand what the end goal is. Okay, at least for high school, the end game is to make sure you're playing in the state finals in December. You don't get there by having all this shit happen right now and taking 2.5 months off and then coming right in and having them do, 100-yard gassers. That's stupid. The goal is November, December, keeping your kids strongest, healthiest, and peaking then. No one gives a shit what happens in August. And so coaches are going to need to check their egos and rely on their coaching staffs, rely on their strength coaches if they have one. If not, they need to start consulting with them, because the biggest problem for a lot of these coaches is their own ego. They can't get out of their own way. And at this point in time, with everything that's going on, like, the role of a strength coach as kind of that moderator saying, like, look, we need to think about this a different way, is going to be critical, I think, going forward.
That's good. Hey, changing directions a little bit, as it relates to, you guys have a ton of experience on multiple, I guess, channels of this, from the smaller studio, personal training only type, to maybe big box gyms, and then now, training facilities. From a facility standpoint, what are some of the things that you would recommend some of the gym owners to do to get creative? You guys have mentioned how creative you've gotten maintaining your business and maintaining your relationships with your clients. But, what would you recommend some of these guys doing to keep the ball rolling and be able to make it weather this storm? And then, what can we tell the members of these places to do to, kind of stay on for the ride and be ready? So how could these guys engage with their customers and keep their businesses rolling?
Well, I think this could be the death of big box gyms, honestly, because big box gyms rely on mass quantities of people to pay monthly without even thinking about it and hope that only a minority of people show up. You can't have a 10,000 square foot gym with 5,000 members and expect 4,000 people to be consistently going. And because of that, that's why not a lot of people go. They just forget it, set it and forget it, and take my money or whatever. But the small boutique gyms and the small personal training studios now have a chance to shine by showing customer service, by showing that they care. The big box gyms, they can send out all the emails and stuff that they want saying, we're going to do this, 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 and clean. But ultimately, when you're training with 400 other people throughout a day, you don't know if someone actually wiped down their bench or they wiped down their dumbbell, or they've taken the proper precautions before they actually came in, versus the smaller boutique appointment only type places. From talking with friends around the country, I mean, the guidelines that they're putting forward are really strict just to walk into the doors. And so if big box gyms want to come out of this and be able to retain any sort of members, they're going to actually have to show some sort of emotion and some sort of empathy to their clients to get them to retain. Because if not, people aren't going to be afraid to go and pay a little bit more to have a cleaner facility, to have ownership that cares, to have ownership that checks on them. And it's just, I think the big box gyms are going to really struggle coming back versus the smaller ones. I don't know about you, Scott.
I think self-awareness as an owner of a business, you have to be self-aware of, who you're working with. I really try not to talk about big box gyms anymore because it's not something that is important to me. It's important that I take care of the people that I work with. It's important that if I can mentor or help other owners realize that, the self-awareness of putting the accountability also on the people that come into your facility and saying, hey, listen, like, you need to be self-aware. Like, there's no much further time that we need to worry about washing our hands, taking care of ourselves, staying clean, cleaning up after ourselves, spacing out properly until we figure out an answer to this. So I don't know if there's a single answer, except, very similar to what Chris said, is that the more boutique, private-esque, facilities are going to have a positive spin on this because they typically have a relationship with everybody who walks.
Idea of some of the gyms that or clubs or fitness studios that do like station type training, where I think it's like the Orange Theory model, where they have your rack, your treadmill, your rower, some dumbbells, a kettlebell bands, and then that person stays in that lane for 45 minutes. They get them off, they wipe all the shit down, and then they get them out of there. And those type of models look like something that might be sustainable. But agreed. I think the one-on-one stuff, or even small group where the employees or owners can go through and just disinfect. I heard the other day, it's like if you want to open your gym during this process, you gotta disinfect the whole place every 2 hours. And not only is that an added expense, but it's something that you have to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it'll. I think it's definitely going to change the industry forever. And I do agree. I think those smaller boutique things are going to probably be the way to go. Now, you guys have owned your own facility. You've worked for other people, and you have coached at the school level, athlete level. What did you guys find most rewarding? Which of those three sectors did you? I guess, two-part question. Did you learn the most, and did you feel was the most rewarding between those three different sectors of the business that you guys have been in? Because you guys have both really kind of followed the same career path, almost identical. So it's kind of interesting that you two can kind of share a little thoughts on that. Scott, you came up, you were with, Parisi. You learned from the best. But how rewarding was that work compared to what you're doing, say, with your personal clients or the high school football teams? You gotta get cut out. No worries, I can repeat it. So, just with you two both have kind of followed the same career path almost to a T. You guys have had your own personal training facilities. You guys have worked for other people. You guys have coached at a high school level. What did you find the most rewarding as far as working in those three different sectors? And where did you learn the most from? Was it working for other people, or was it working for yourself, or was it working for kids?
Do you mind if I go, Chris?
Go for it. No, go for it.
Yeah. One thing I quickly learned that you said is I fucking can't work for anyone. I learned that really quickly. I tried to step out of doing it for about a year, and it's not good. And it's not because it's probably because of my personality, because I'm an asshole sometimes. Like, I'll admit that. You guys all know that. But at the same time, the reward of knowing that if something gets screwed up, it's my fault.
Yeah.
I would rather put that onus on myself or the people that are super close to me than have to rely on someone else. So if there's a rewarding factor, I said this to someone the other day, I said, there's no better feeling than when you open up the facility the first time and you open up that door and it's yours to do what you like with it, how you need to do it to sustain a family, livelihood, all that kind of stuff. So most rewarding, I would say, Maddie, is that, just to have the ability to hold yourself accountable, run a business, help a tremendous amount of people out that want to be helped and are willing to work for things. That's pretty darn, whether it's regular population or athletes, those are all things that, mean a ton to me.
I used to think when I first started that you had to train the pro athletes. Like that was how you made yourself, right? And then, once I started training pro athletes, I was like, okay, well, this isn't the pinnacle that I thought it was going to be. Like they're just regular people. They just have extraordinary skills and get paid an extraordinary amount of money. So while that was gratifying, it was a good learning process to see, working with high school, college, and pro athletes all at the same time. You have to have a different skill set based off who you're training at that period of time. So the learning was amazing. I mean, I learned more trying to balance those three things than I have in a really long time. But to me, the most rewarding aspect, and this is why I went to kids, is the notes that I get from the parents. Saying my kid is now off the video game console and he's focusing on his schoolwork because he wants to get to the gym first thing in the morning. Or my kid has never been one that's gotten a lot of playing time, but since training, he's gotten bigger, faster, stronger. Now he's getting to play. And the gratitude that you get from parents when you can help play that role in their child's life to make their child a better human. That to me is the sole reason why I had left the private industry and went back into to working for a school, because I didn't want money to be a factor. I didn't want to have to price quote a kid who would cry that he wanted to do this so bad, but his parents didn't make enough money. That's just not acceptable to me, that kids don't have the ability to be able to train, because personal training is a luxury item. We're one of the first things to go when people cut off budgets. And I never wanted finances to be a problem. Making the money out of owning a gym is the great thing. But now that I'm at the high school, I mean, I went from touching at most, 15 to 20 kids a day. Now I'm touching 80 to 90 kids a day. That's a whole lot more kids that I can positively affect and create change for going forward.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Both are good answers. Now, you guys have both trained football versus baseball, okay? And let's start there, right? Because that's, how many times have we heard it? You can't train a baseball player like you train a football player. Where are you guys at with that? What differences do you, or if any? Because to me, just get them stronger is always going to make them better. But where do you guys see that? Where, when you have a baseball parent come to you versus a football parent, how do you have that conversation, and what do you do? Do you change anything, or is it just, this is the program, we're going to get you stronger here, and everything else will fall in line? Or do you have to worry about that baseball player and being a rotational sport and making sure that kid is trained differently? Because, I mean, Chris, you've trained some very high-level baseball players, as has Scott, and you guys have both dealt with football teams and football players. So it's just, I think that's kind of like a very big, question right now. I think a lot of people battle back and forth sport-wise. Do you train those kids differently?
In the high school setting where I'm at now, no. Not really. I'll say it like that, because when you're dealing with 40 kids at a time, trying to have 40 different athlete specific programs is a time crunch. It's a lot of hours spending programming. And even if you're a good programmer, it's still going to take some time. So in a math scale, in working at the high school, when I only have a smaller limited time, but a ton of kids, I have to try to make the program fit all sports at once. So if you look at a basic program of mine, you'll see influences of baseball. You'll see influences of football, basketball, volleyball, soccer, because those are all the kids that are coming into the gym at one time. So I can't focus just on one thing. It's got to be all encompassing. Now, on the opposite side of that spectrum, and when I had my own facilities, I never did sport-specific training. I only did athlete-specific training because that's all really what we're doing. I don't give a shit what fucking sports you play. I care what position you play and how you want to get better and where your weaknesses are. Because if you have a weak spot in any facet of your game and I can help fix that, then bam, all of a sudden you're now a better athlete. So while football and baseball are two totally dynamic sports, it's the athlete that matters. It's what you see in the assessment. What do they need to work on? Where are they most efficient? Where are they strongest? And then it's just a matter of putting pieces of the puzzle together to create this plan to help them reach their goals as fast, as quickly, and as safely as possible.
That's good.
Is Scott there?
The governor of New Jersey flagged him.
Just shut him down. Take your pizza and go home.
That's what you get for having a fucking glute ham in your living room. It is a good question, though, Matt. While we're trying to get Scott back on the line, the dynamic between people obsessing over the difference in sports. I mean, I think we can all pretty much agree on one thing. Sports is dynamic in and of itself. Every athlete has to do three things. Okay. Every athlete has to slow down, they have to stop, and they have to speed up. I mean, and that's really as simplistic as I can make it. Hey, Scott, welcome back. I'm talking for you. Don't worry. I'm talking for you with less aggression.
I'm done. That's it, everybody. That's it. Coronacation is over. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. My internet doesn't work. I'm interrupting you, Chris. I apologize. I turn purple. You turn purple, Matt.
You're not as purple as you were.
That's it. I'm done. I'm out. You knew it was going to happen at some point. You guys knew, bringing on the purple Incredible Hulk, that it would happen. But my blood pressure.
Do you have some almonds handy? Just something that you can snack on real quick?
It's not even that I'm not even hangry. I'm not hangry. What I am is I am to the extent of being sitting at home, and now my internet decides the one day it doesn't want to work.
It's the only thing that you have at home, right?
Could you imagine this shit going down 20 years ago?
I don't even want. It's not even funny. Like I'm angry. I'm genuinely angry.
Like where's Scott? His dial-up is delayed.
I just like. All right. So can I answer that question?
I would love for you to answer that question.
And he's gone again.
Is he really?
Oh shit!
Then I get knocked out again. See, that's how it happens. This is ridiculous. This is funny stuff right here.
Hey, you're not helping me out with this East Coast West Coast thing, man. West Coast is kicking our ass.
East Coast is dominating all right. To go with what we talked about, the difference between football and baseball.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the channeling the similar training concepts that Chris said. You're training an athlete. You're not just training a sport. I would say the one major thing before I get cut out again is that I educate them a little bit differently. Whether it be parents, whether it be the athlete themselves individually. Explaining things slightly different than I would explain to a wrestler or that I would explain to a football player. And that's not only in the facility, but also in school. If we're in the school weight room, and it's weird. Our school doesn't allow.
He gone.
Damn it, Scott.
That's what happens when your school doesn't allow stuff, Scott. He is right though. I love the fact that he talked about educating the parents. Since he and I both work a lot with high schools, that's a very important aspect in dealing with their health, their strength, their future is having that open line of communication with parents.
It's also a trait that you could teach these kids too, that you could pass on through the parents. I mean, communication is everything in everything. I mean, it's everything in life. It's everything in business. It's everything in sports. You have to be able to communicate. Everybody's got to be on the same page, because once that is broken, right, then everything goes out the window. Then you got mom and dad pissed off, kids pissed off, coaches pissed off. Communication is probably 90% of where all breakdowns come. That kind of throw a monkey wrench in anything, and it's all avoidable.
For sure. As long as you educate and as long as you communicate. And you do the responsible thing by whomever you're working with, whether it's an adult or an athlete. You do what's right by them, not just about your own personal, well-being or gain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, do you think that plays a lot, and a lot of this is always ego, right? I mean, when you're dealing with trainers and the way they're going to train specific athletes or even just clients, do you guys find that ego will normally get in the way of, I say, most of the success that somebody could be getting through their training?
Yeah, I mean, just mentoring a tremendous amount of trainers, and coaches for the last, 15 or so years, like that seems to be the stalling point for a lot of them, is that they're more concerned about their own personal growth, rather than the people that they work with or the amount of volume that they work with. And Chris mentioned it earlier, we're talking about that everyone wants to train a pro, and that's not what it's about. It's about, making a difference for a number of people. And
Sure.
Once you get rid of the ego, then you realize that you're going to be a better coach, not just a trainer, but you're going to be a better coach.
Yeah, I would love to see someone come out one day and be like, wow, look at this high school kid that I trained all the way through high school. He came back during college, and now he's a CEO, or now he's a lawyer, or now he's a doctor, because that discipline that you instilled in him or her led them down that path to be able to work for an end goal.
Yeah.
But you never see that. It's like, oh, my kid went pro, but what about the 500 other kids that you trained that you don't want to talk about?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Matt, you actually bring up something good, because I mean, Scott and I have both taken the high school kid and helped him get into college, worked with him through college, and probably helped him get to that next level. But one of the best, coolest things for me in working with high school kids is when one of my kids got accepted into Buds. That was like a goal that he'd had since before he and I started, and he started training with me when he was 15. And he's actually supposed to be in there now, but coronavirus had some different plans for the military. But it's that attention to detail. It's I know what my end goal is, and I'm going to work there. And athletics is going to be the catalyst that helps get me there, because it forces you to take small goals, focus on the little steps to get to the big end goal.
With staying in line with this East Coast, West Coast thing, and I'm sure you guys have plenty of experience all over the country, which part of the country has the best natural athletes? Is it East Coast? Is it the Southeast? West Coast? What? Midwest? What do you think? Let's debate it.
Okay, so I'll kind of come out swinging, and for me, in my experience, I'm going to have to say the borderline between like the Southwest and Southeast and everything in the middle. So basically Texas. Okay. I've had the pleasure of working with probably 100 plus athletes. Fuck you, Scott, from Texas. And those kids, they do it right in Texas. Those kids, they come in, they want to work. They're Scott's IQ. They want to work. They want to, they're gracious, and I love West Coast. East Coast people, they're just aggressive and angry and purple monsters, and West Coast is very lackadaisical, and we have that bro vibe, but I'm going to come out swinging. I'm going to say that South right there in Texas.
Don't mess with Texas. All right.
I will respectfully say that's a good answer, Chris, and I appreciate it. And we've been friends for a while, so
yeah. Couldn't even let him get it out of his mouth, baby.
Hit him with the whammy.
This is bullshit.
We got
you know what? I'm not even saying anything nice anymore. I'm just going to say what I have to, and that's it. It's Florida. Florida is number one. There is no place that you are having natural, innate ability athletes that are coming out of football, baseball, basketball. It does not matter. Texas, I will say, very similar to what Chris said. It's incredible. Listen, SoCal is producing a tremendous amount of athletes. But if you want to talk about pure size and the amount of athletes that come out of, it's Jersey, man. I mean, you look on any draft, and you got guys from Jersey. You got girls from Jersey.
Do you count Kobe Bryant from Jersey?
Did he spend a month or two in
I think he grew up in Philly, though.
Yeah. Well, he fell over the state line.
That's South Jersey. So do I have to say more than, for baseball right now, do I have to say more than Mike Trout? No, I don't have to. Were you going to come up? So again, realistically speaking, though, I mean, I'm going to give props to the Northeast because, that's where I'm born and bred. But, Florida, the Southeast is, you walk down any street and you're going to find kids and athletes at any sport, any level.
Now, is it their ability to train and play year round, Texas and Florida? And then the, parents grow up, they stay in Florida, and, then you got this long chain of Texans or Floridians, and they just, keep popping out athletic talent. Is that why this is? Because I agree with you guys. I think Texas and Florida, there's no question, those are top athletic states. And then I put Ohio number 3, obviously, but
you're talking about breeding capacity right now. I mean, think about the team.
Yeah.
You're the last guy in the bar, and you're like, wait, what am I going to see here? Like, what am I going to get? Where am I going to breed with? So,
right.
Maybe that's a good point. I don't think anyone really has discussed that. When you talk about those states, they're typically, let's be serious, people from Texas, if you've been there for a while, you're not leaving. People from Florida, if you've been there for a while, you're not leaving. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know if it's per se being able to play all year round, because I think sometimes that affects it negatively, at a young age, because they don't play multiple sports. But, listen, you can get outside and you can do something every day in Texas, and you can do something outside every day in Florida.
Well, I think, too, with Texas, you got to keep in mind, like, they're kind of leading the way in as far as hiring full-time high school strength coaches. 100%. I don't know whose phone that was.
Well, yeah, it's a 6-figure job in Texas.
Yeah, so they're paying those guys full-time jobs to be strength coaches. So, I mean, those guys are getting good money, and these kids are getting, I would say probably better trained than probably anywhere else in the country.
Yeah.
By having that.
That's part of the reason, why I lean towards Texas, is because of what you're saying, Matt. I haven't had a ton of experience with a lot of East Coast kids. Like, I've had some from Florida, North Carolina, stuff like that. But because of how much bigger things are in Texas, I mean, a big high school game in Washington State maybe pulls 6,000 people. That's like the student section at a high school game in Texas, right? They're getting such high-end training at so long that when I would have my baseball guys come out for the summer, I'd have these 18-year-old freshmen from, you name the school in Texas, and I trained somebody from there, but they fucking know how to hip hinge. They fucking know how to squat. They fucking know how to deadlift, and those guys have been trained.
Yep.
So the high schools are investing into those kids, and those kids are putting out. And just the athletes that are coming out of the South in general, like east of Texas, go Texas all the way to Florida. I think you could make an argument it's probably the most athletically talented region in the entire country.
Well, they definitely take it seriously. I mean, they're having the state championship games at Jerry World in Dallas, and we've seen all the high school football movies. They're all based in Texas. It's like they live for that shit, and it makes sense that they would invest in strength coaches and facilities, and then while the kids end up, whether they're naturally gifted or not, when they're coming out of high school, they're good.
Yeah. No, I think that's, to me, that's probably the biggest factor. Just dealing with some of those schools down there, and guys like Monty Sparkman that just, these guys, they got these kids way ahead, and I'm sure by the time they get to college, they're so far ahead of everybody else. So, that strength coach doesn't have to spend 6 weeks trying to fix movement patterns that they developed in high school, because these guys have good, qualified strength coaches. So it's just my opinion. I just think Texas is ahead of the game right now with that, and I think the rest of the country will follow. I think sooner or later, especially with phys ed being eliminated everywhere, maybe we'll start seeing those strength coaches getting hired at the high school level.
Well, I think a big part of recruitment nowadays, and if you really want to know as an athlete, if a coach is seriously recruiting you, is they're not going to go outside to go watch you play. They've seen that happen. They're going to come in the off season and they're going to see what you're doing in the weight room. And that's baseball, basketball. That's for a female as well. Like, you're talking about, if a college recruiter is spending the time on the road and it. I quit. I'm done.
That was gonna be a good answer. I'd like to hear that. So if we can we can rewind because we can cut this. So Scott, go back to your point. What do you see? These recruiters coming in, like you said, they can see all the game film, right? Everybody's got a huddle. I mean, that's easy. You can just pull that up. You can break the film down. When that recruiter comes into that weight room in the off season, I mean,
they want to see some things. They want to see particular things, what your work ethic is, and that's a big thing, and that includes the higher level too, not just collegiate. We're talking pro as well. If an athlete is spending time working out and training, and a recruiter comes and they want to see someone, really delve into what kind of personality that athlete is, what kind of work ethic that athlete has, they're going to recruit you in the weight room. They're going to see what you do. If it's speed training, if it's strength training, whatever it is that you're doing that day, they're going to want to see what you have to offer in that room. Now, not just ability-wise, that's leadership-wise. Are you coachable? Are you disciplined? Because, yeah, of course you're going to put on your best hat, your Sunday best when you see Nick Saban walk in. But, not every rep is being watched. And are you that type of kid who's not going to take shortcuts? Are you that type of female that's going to spend time in the weight room because she knows that's what's best for her? And recruiting-wise, if you really want a kid, you're not going outside to watch them. You're going in the weight room. You're going on the track. You're going to watch them do stuff outside of the realm of the sport. And then that's critical nowadays.
Yeah. Chris, when you had these guys coming into you that were, like the college baseball players, I mean, I think a coach wants to get eyes on these kids. They want to see them, and if you don't pass that eyeball test, it could be the difference between going D1 and playing D3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely true, and I think social media has definitely helped a lot of kids doing that, because now more kids are posting more stuff in the gym, because like what Scott said, it's not about what they do on the field. You can find that anywhere. It's what are you doing to get ready to be on the field. So even if it's just a little clip of you hitting a 3-rep max or hitting a PR and something, but showing how the athlete is and their personality wise outside of the field and in a different atmosphere, I think is going to be huge, especially, stuff like punctuality, how they work with other people into the gym. Are they encouraging? Are they doing their stuff with headphones on and then picking up their fucking phone in between sets? Are they wiping down the equipment? Recruiters love to look at details. And that was the thing that I appreciated about when the college guys came out, is they were very detail oriented. And, and that's kind of a big factor, is how well do you pay attention to the details?
Going to the next level. Think about those kinds of things. Yeah. Sometimes the numbers just don't matter as much as some of the detailed. When you said, these guys are looking at whether these guys are wiping down equipment. Right. I mean, shit, that's a great point.
Well, even just talking to a kid and will he look you in the eye? I mean, because kids nowadays, there's very little face-to-face interaction. They just don't have to go through that. So, with my kid, I'm constantly like, look him in the eye, stand up straight, shake the hand. Like, these are just little skills that are dying.
And kids are different these days too. There's certain traits that I think that, we'll learn about how kids are developing now, where maybe that, eye contact for me growing up was always important.
Oh, yeah.
But, now with my kids, and I've got a son who's autistic, it's like that he just can't do that. Sure. You know what I mean? So it's like, but is that going to be, but I think that, the recruiters that are coming through understand this about the person that they're trying to meet. But, what are the traits that they can identify within those athletes that will translate to the next level and know if someone's coachable or will be able to get up at 5 a.m. and make the calls and those kinds of things. Yeah. But you guys are on point.
Yeah, I mean, I've always stressed with my son, what are you doing when somebody's not looking at you?
That's it.
I mean, that's it. To me, like, that's everything, dude. Like, don't just play the game because I'm watching you. Like, what are you doing when I'm not watching you? What are you doing when that coach isn't watching you?
Well, there's fucking cameras. There's fucking cameras everywhere now, so everybody's watching.
They're watching you. Like, don't think for 1 minute they're not. So I always tell them, I'm like, what are you doing when you don't think there's eyes on you? And I mean, that's to me, kids just, I think once they get that, and you can't fake it.
Yeah.
To me, it's going to be interesting moving forward because I always tell my high school kids who are being recruited, everybody says you've got to make a good first impression, and kind of echo kind of what I was saying with the eye contact. I always tell them you want to start off with a good handshake and you look the recruiter in the eyes. The handshake can be transformative. It's a simple little gesture, but how you can teach an athlete to shake a recruiter's hand or a coach's hand will go a really, really long ways. I had a kid that was being recruited by multiple colleges, and the college that ended up signing him said that one of the factors was how he presented himself when they first met. He had a clean shaven, he dressed nice, but he had a fucking handshake.
Right.
And the coach appreciated the handshake. He's like, oh, that's a little detail. This kid is going to give me a handshake and look me in the eye, so that I know that little tiniest little thing is going to translate into something bigger when we go to break down film, or we're going over the playbook, or he's in school and maybe they do a little extra to get that grade up, or to make All-American academic team and stuff like that. So that's why I tell the kids all the time. Last summer, it's attention to details. For me, it's like how you even put the plates on the bar. Do you have things facing the different ways? Like, seriously, what the fuck? Have your plates facing the same way. When you put the weights away, have them facing the same way. People think I'm completely out over the top OCD, and I'm like, you're missing the bigger point. The point is you pay attention to the details at all times, because when it comes down to nuts and bolts, if it's fourth and a yard, and you need this to win a championship game, are you going to do the littlest fucking details to make sure that you get that yard and you win? Because if you don't push a plate in all the way, you're not paying attention on the rack. You're not paying attention to the details. You're not doing the little things that it takes to be a championship caliber athlete.
Can you imagine seeing a 45-pound plate with a 2.5 and then another 45-pound plate on a rack somewhere? That gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
I threw away all the 2.5 because of that. I mean, we got this new gym set up, and someone came in and they had a 25 where the 45 was. They had a chain where a band was, and a fucking 2.5 laid on the ground. So I was like, get rid of them. No. Sorry, that drove me nuts. But yeah, the 2.5, fuck it. Put your weights away where they belong.
I don't know.
That's good
Scott,
policy.
have you seen a lot of that too? It's just as far as like how kids carry themselves this day, and like seeing the difference, and how much further that'll get them later down the road.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, just etiquette alone, and simple stuff like wearing the right gear. If you got team colors on, then that's what you do. If you're not, then my rule: get out of the weight room. You're not coming in. You're not training. And that's when it comes to the school side of it. It's building the discipline so that I heard you guys before I got cut out for the 1,000th time. It's that 4th and 1. It's that 3-2 pitch. It's that last moment. It's that last game-winning free throw that puts the pressure on. And if you would pay attention to the details, and you pay attention to the discipline, and you pay attention to what matters to your teammate, and that includes wrestling, which is an individual sport.
Sure.
But if you're working hard and you're training hard with your teammates, you're going to make yourself better individually. So, listen, if there's ever probably a weight room that if Chris walked into my school weight room with me, and it'd be the similar rules, and it's.
God, that was.
He was on fire there.
Dude, he was going good there. Keep going, Scott.
Come on.
I may cry, and you're going to have to edit it, because I don't want anyone to see me cry personally. But it's the ability to pay attention to those little things and those details that matter in the end. Not just for your sport, but we talked a little bit about it before, Matt, is the lawyers, the doctors, the successful business people, the people who have a job and are hustling their butts off, that we've trained in the past, that they built that from.
He's going to come through the computer screen. I know it.
Keep going,
I
Scotty.
can see his face. I can see his face matching the color of his shirt when he comes back on here in a minute. At least this is a good little silence for editing possibilities.
Yes. Cut.
They even mentioned, training at the high school level because of the satisfaction of being able to improve these kids' lives. They don't need to be able to afford it. All they need to do is want it, and they get placed. And some of these kids aren't getting these attention to detail disciplines at home. And it's nice to be able, whether they can afford it or not, right?
Yeah.
And they can come and work with someone that isn't a family member, that isn't going to let them off the hook easy, that's going to require them to step up their game for purposes that they think are just going to apply on the field. And they're able to do this for 4 years and pass it along to the next level, or even through college. And now they're out in the workforce and bringing these excellent habits with them. And they didn't even know it. They thought that all they had to do was clean up the equipment after they were done. Well, that translates over to making them a better human being. I think that's phenomenal what you guys.
Well, and to piggyback off what you said there, like, I'm anal about my gym because my coach that I had when I was in high school was anal about his gym. Like, you were talking about habits and routines and details. Like, everything had to be back in its place in our gym. And it's a respect for the gym thing. It's a respect for your coach thing, but it's a respect for yourself and your teammates. But yeah, have that habit. And then, it's, you can change any program around by doing that.
You gotta set those standards, right? And I mean, that's just a learned trait. And it's not, I coached my kid up until he's in 6th grade, and then I was like, all right, hands off, no more. He needs to be with somebody else, right? I'm not getting through to him anymore, and all we're gonna do is fight when we get home. But when I was coaching, like, there was a difference between, like, I'm not this kid's parent. You are. I'm just his coach. And I think, a lot of times these parents wanted me to parent their kid. And it just doesn't work that way. He looks at me in a different way. And I mean, these things I think got to be said in the house, at home, through the parents. And then it would translate and make, Chris and Scott and everybody else's job a lot easier when they fall in line. But yeah, it
would make our job easier, but I think it would take a lot of the fulfillment out.
Well, that's true. I mean, you change that kid.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. Like, I love it when this is going to sound really bad, so America, forgive me, but it's kind of nice when you have a kid that has a shitty home structure.
Sure.
Because when they come in, they want that caring, loving attention.
Yeah.
They want that nurturing. You can bust their balls all day long, and you're not going to break through. But show a kid who struggles at home that you care.
Yeah.
Then you have a lasting mark on that child for the rest of their lives. Fuck what they do in high school. You've changed a person for the better for the rest of their life. And that's it. Like, that's
a little love goes a long way. I mean, just grabbing a kid, hugging them, just say, "Hey, I care."
That's what freaks me out about some of the things that states are planning on cutting. When they were talking about here, going to online forums and cutting out sports and just the things that they're kicking around to try to make up for some of this stimulus money that's out there, and also prevent any further transmission of the virus. But it's like, oh my God, like, just hearing that, I'm like thinking about my kids. I'm like, shit, they're not going to benefit from all this stuff. And for me, it's getting my kids to relate to someone else other than me, to have someone else other than me putting some structures in place for them. Because when they get out there, man, there's going to be other people, whether you're self-employed or not, you're working for somebody.
Sure.
Right? So it's like, how do you build these habits with them early on? And, to me, I think that cutting those core programs out is fucking devastating.
It's bad. It's bad.
So how do you have you guys thought about that? I mean, how do you keep some of this stuff going? I mean, who do you have to convince?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. I think the schools that want to change the schools that want to see their kids succeed will invest back into the programs that they know are helping their kids push through. I think for some schools, they want to cut the physical education for, I have no idea why, but it's the easiest thing to cut. Like I said earlier to something that Scott was saying, personal training is a luxury item. I think sometimes schools see physical education as a luxury item. It's a low on the totem pole thing that we can easily get rid of. But the problem is ever since they started doing that, we've seen spikes in teenage obesity. We've seen spikes in teenage depression. We've seen spikes in teenage injury rates, like astronomical rises through all those things all across the board just by taking away a physical component of their life. You got to remember that humans by nature are tribal. And as tribal people, that physical contact, that competition, that look at the guy next to you, or is he doing more than you, is always there. It's been ingrained in our DNA. It's just how do we foster that in a productive manner without turning them into, savages.
We can even go further, and there's an argument. We're all fitness guys, and that's important to us, and we see how it's benefited our lives, and we know that, boy, if everyone did what we did, they'd live a better quality of life. And these habits need to start early. Otherwise, by the time they're adults, if they haven't been exercising regularly, and I attribute it all to sports, playing sports growing up, and then you take it through to the next level. But even like things like art and music, I mean, these things are on the verge of getting sliced and diced too. So it's how period.
Art, someone who likes music, someone who likes sports. Unfortunately we're so stringent upon academics and making sure that standardized testing is all facilitated as best as possible, but we're taking away the things that made kids, young adults, and adults, what turned them into positive influences, because we're disconnecting each other, and we're using social media, we're using phones, we're using computers, and we're forgetting, the last day that we would ride a bike to a friend's house to get them, rather than get on the phone. And that, unfortunately, it starts with the education system, and it's listen, I'm not going to get into politics because that's not a conversation that we need to have, but to understand that the reason why part of our society is the way that Chris said, with obesity and depression and mental health, is because we're taking a lot of the things away from, kids and young adults that helped them understand how to handle situations, how to problem solve. Now we're problem solving with a phone in our hand, or we're problem solving with, a Chromebook, rather than, oh shit, you're having a problem solve? Like, okay, we're going to punch you in the fucking face. I'm going to get up, and tomorrow we're going to be friends again. And not to say that was the right way to do things, but, nowadays we've lost the social interaction for our kids, and like you said, Tim, like I see it with my kids too, and it's making sure you're a parent and you're a coach to levy the situation of making them understand how to socially interact with their peers, people that are younger and people that are older.
Everything's going to change, and but you think back, I mean, we're all around the same age, and I have a 17-year-old son. He has his friends come over, they all show up in separate cars. I'm like, who does that? Like, we used to be like, hey, come pick me up, you go pick him up, we go, and I end up having 13 cars in my driveway.
You slap for sale signs on them.
Right? It's just like a parking lot all over my grass. And I'm like, can't you guys like ride together? You just drive by each other's houses. It drives me nuts. But even like, it'll be Friday night. I'm like, aren't you hanging out with your boys? He's like, I am. And they're on PlayStation.
Playing Twitch. Yeah.
But they
playing Twitch.
They socialize differently. Me, I would never spend a weekend night without my guys. I mean, in high school, that's what we did. But it's all changing. But yeah, I mean, just seeing how things are changing socially. But that goes back to the fitness industry, right? Everybody's an online coach, right? And everybody has a coach. And that's all changed. And like, I mean, it's just, I think the world has changed, and it's kind of blown by me. I'm still a social guy, just like, like Chris and Scott. Like I want to be out and be around people, and I couldn't imagine just sitting home and doing this. Like, this is weird to me. Like, I can't see you guys, but I'm talking to you.
That's right.
It just drives me nuts.
That's right.
I'd rather be sitting around a table with a couple of coolers of some brewskis and having some laughs, but,
And
I debated driving. I debated to drive and go see you guys. I had the ability. I was like, do I get in the car and go?
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, I got to still teach my middle school kids. So,
right.
It is. It's hard. It's a different society nowadays, and I get it. That's how things evolve. That's how things adapt. But when we're talking about that we can't even. Some people can't even have conversations.
Yeah.
Over dinner. And
Sure.
that's. And I bet you guys all have the same thing because we all have kids. And we're around them on a regular basis. It's like dinner time. Anyone picks up their phone, I'm throwing it out the fucking window.
Yeah.
And that includes like even friends' houses that I'm at or I'm hanging out with, and all of a sudden their kid picks up a phone or they pick up a phone. I'm like, it's fucking dinner time. Take your phone and put it away. You're gonna have a conversation with dad. You're gonna have a conversation with mom. You're gonna have a conversation with Uncle Scott and Uncle Chris, and put it away. I don't want to see it. And
Life's biggest pet peeve.
it's until more people realize that that's what's affecting a lot of our society and make a difference. It's going to continue to do what it is doing right now.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's we'll see what happens, but again, I you go back to it, is it good, is it bad? I don't know.
we don't know yet.
My son's
Too early to
smarter
tell. Yeah.
He's smarter than me already, and he's 17. I mean, the kid's on a different level intellectually. Like to the point, I'd say in 5 more years, I'm not even going to be able to have a conversation with him because I'm not going to understand anything that he's saying because he's that intelligent.
And my 4-year-old knows more about technology
Right.
than I do. You
And
give him an iPad, he figures it out. I don't know where the
Like,
start
they're-
button is.
They are constantly in front of that thing, but at the same time, they're reading, they're watching video, they're learning. So is it bad? I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. You know what I'm
everything
saying?
will
I mean,
be fine.
And I don't want to be that guy. Like, get off my lawn. And back in my day, and I
That's
catch
right.
myself doing that shit, and it drives me nuts. And my son's like, "Really, Dad? Like, I don't give a shit what happened with you in 1992." And
When you rode your dinosaur to school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's changing, but hey, it's all good. To kind of steer back towards fitness and what we're doing here on the old table talk from elitefts.com.
That's right. Do you guys have something that, as we close out here, if people want to get a hold of you or learn more about your facilities or your programs, how do they touch base with you?
If you want to get a hold of Scott, get a hold of his phone, not his computer.
Don't email Scott.
Don't.
You got to go to Scott's house and knock on the door.
Knock on my door. Okay. this is it. Like, honestly, this is kind of a funny segue into this because I'll keep it quick. It's like I'm like a fucking locust. All right, like every 5 years I come out and I start pushing the business, and I start talking about training, and I'm writing, and I'm doing podcasts, and I'm on lives, and I'm having fun, and I'm blowing it up, and then like fucking what's that? The Jeepers Creepers. Then out of nowhere, then I'm gone.
Yeah.
So really, if you really want to fucking find me, and you actually want to come train with Doug and I at Foundation Training Systems, easiest thing to do is reach out on Instagram. Reach out email wise. It's real simple. scpaltos at foundationtrainingsystems.com. I'm around. Typically what happens is as soon as the gym opens up its doors again, it's going to be back to coaching, training. When football starts, football goes, and that's going to be there. And there's a likelihood, a 90% likelihood that I will add more chaos and start coaching baseball again on a regular basis. So yeah, you know what I tell people, like, social media is probably the easiest place to find me. And reach out if you are interested in training and stuff like that. I've cut back a lot of my online training just purely because I don't want to deal with folks that aren't serious, and predominantly the big part of us is building our FTS, into the best training facility Doug and I can have, in the Northeast, let alone Jersey,
Yeah.
Nice.
Best way to get in, find me is just is Instagram, where I'm busiest. That's just Chris Bartl EAD, at Chris Bartl EAD. I post a lot of stuff at the high school. When I'm there, I'm usually posting stories and videos. Going forward, once I'm with Scott, once we are able to let kids on campus and open the doors, it's going to be a mad rush of tortoises. But I'll have a lot of time on my hands coming up because I got a kid coming in December, so I'll be up for like 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats. I didn't know that, Chris. That's great news, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Having a little son. So.
So you'll be like, what, 65 when that kid graduates high school?
I'm going to be the most jacked fucking kid at that high school graduate. And I'm going to be covered in tattoos.
Hell yeah. Just get sleeves.
But yeah, I'm kind of transitioning my business, my online stuff. I pretty much closed my online business to adults now. My only online stuff is going to be consulting with other high schools and helping them develop their program by implementing my system that I put in at Mount Baker. That's worked. And best way to get a hold of me is just through Instagram.
That's great, guys. Well, thanks being on the first podcast back during the quarantine. I think we got a lot of info, and we got to get you down here to the S5 so you can teach us how to use a couple of these pieces of equipment.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you both for having us and spending the time. And, listen, to give you a straight up, little reach around right now. Like, you want to talk about guys in the business that have been super supportive of any business or any doors that I've opened, from early 2000s to now, where, I talk to Matt on a regular basis, and I appreciate it. And it's a little bit of a smoke job because you're having me, because I feel kind of privileged that you guys would ask Chris and I on here. So, thanks for the time, guys. I apologize to any fans out there of you guys who I offended by saying fuck 17,000 times. I'm going to have a nice long conversation with Verizon Fios when I'm off this phone. So if you'd like, guys, I feel free. Like, we could stay live and we can get on that conversation.
That'd be good content, probably.
It could be good content, yes. Or it may, Better Business Bureau may close you down.
I don't know, man. I think Davis set the standard, so I think we came in way below what he normally does. But you two both have been so supportive over the last 10 years that I've been around. And I just, want to personally thank you both. You guys, I do consider you both friends now. And we do need to be able to get you guys out here at some point where we could do a group thing, and get a bunch of guys like you together. And I think like a good round table with like minds, I think we could really open up some ideas for everybody. And I think it would really come off really cool. And even if we don't tape it, even if it's just us sitting around, bullshitting around, but just so you guys do know, you guys are Elite FTS family. We appreciate everything you guys have done for us. And Chris, I want to thank you personally for motivating me to lose weight. I came home from that install and I saw a video of me, and I could not get over how fat I was, and I'm really pissed. Nobody really said anything to me. I was like, Jesus Christ, how am I that goddamn fat? So I've lost 30 pounds because of that video. So thank you for having me out there and and giving me the kick in the ass. Oh, disgusting.
I was stoked you guys. I mean, I was stoked, that you guys were able to come out and do that just because of the relationship, Matt, that I've had with you. And I think that's the third gym that I've now equipped with Elite FTS.
Yep.
But, it meant the most to the kids to see you guys out there to film and see the video. Like, they were fucking out of their minds when you guys did that drone footage coming away and you saw the whole football field with the mountains in the background. Like, those kids were so proud that was their gym, that was their high school. And really, I mean, you added 150% enrollment into my after school program just based off that video, because kids saw what we built and what we were going to do. And so thank you guys. I mean, you guys have definitely helped me and grow it and expand my business. And, you have a customer for life in me. That's not a problem.
I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
We appreciate that. And I need to get out to Paltos because I need to eat. I do. God, I love New Jersey food. If anybody's never been to New Jersey, please go.
There goes your 30 pounds.
Oh, dude, I'd get it back in a day. The pizza and then getting the Taylor ham. I mean, forget it. I can't. It just that place adds 10 pounds right as soon as I cross the border.
That's why I'm 250 again. That has something to do with it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So, well, guys, thanks again. So on behalf of Tim and Josh, who's behind the scenes over there, we appreciate you guys joining us. Hopefully we could do this again and get the headmaster in here, Dave Tate. So sorry for those that tuned in and saw my ugly mug instead. But Tim's a new addition to the team. He's going to be a big asset, and you guys are going to see a lot more of him. So, again, guys, thank you, and we appreciate everything you guys do.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Be
Thanks a
safe,
lot.
everyone.
All right, bud.